Okay. Okay, Corey, so you're ready. Sat in the car again.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay, guys, so.
Oh, it's going to be crazy for me these days. So until I get to the UK, we're on the go all the time.
Yep, well, we're on the go too. So let's get this started, and we're going to get Corey free as quickly as we can. But guys, tonight's a really, really important call. We've heard Corey do his presentation a few times before, but the one thing about Corey doing his presentation a few times is that Corey has his presentation down and nobody gets to ask questions. So today we're going to ask some questions as well, and Corey's agreed to let me ask some questions of him. And they're going to be based around his normal presentation, but we're going to, hopefully we can squeeze a little bit more information from him. And I sent messages out, or Simon sent messages out yesterday, asking you guys if you had any specific questions that you wanted to ask. And I've got those questions in, so I'm going to ask some questions from Corey at the end. And right at the end of this call, we have an announcement that Corey only told me about maybe 20 minutes ago. And something that you absolutely, absolutely have to listen to, because it's going to be hugely important for us. But let's get started. So let's tell you exactly who we're talking to. If you're on this call for the first time and you haven't yet come across Corey Chadwick, then let's give you an idea of exactly who we're talking to. If you've heard the weekly call that I put out when I talk about the business opportunity call, I tell you about Corey and I tell you that he's the trader who sends out our signals for us. But who exactly is he? Well, first of all, we all know his crypto Corey, and he's been our trader now for just over 12 months. He has a degree in finance and a minor in accounting from Oklahoma State University. After that, he left and he went to work as a financial analyst for one of the top 4 financial institutions for a year before he then moved into the network marketing field. And he's recently just had an anniversary in network marketing. And in that time, he's built his own large organization of more than 2.8 million. I'll say it again, million active members worldwide. That's an insane number of people. Now, the huge amount of his team was actually in China, and because of currency exchanges and currency fluctuations over there, that led to Corey being paid in Bitcoin, and it led to him investing into Bitcoin at around $600 a coin. And you've got to get that into your head first of all. Into Bitcoin at $600 a coin. In a frighteningly short space of time, that had gone from $600 to nearly $20,000 a coin. So you get an idea of it. Corey actually bought into Ethereum at $10 a coin, and he bought into XRP, Ripple, at less than a penny. And he made more than 750 Bitcoin through trading it. Now do some simple math for yourself, guys. 750 Bitcoin, $20,000 a coin. Yeah? That's an insane amount of money. But the key is that he's been trading for 2 years. 2 years. He's been with Kuvera since April of last year, and in that time he sent us a ton of trades through, and those trades have made an insane amount of money. So right now I want to start talking to Corey, and I want to start asking Corey some questions. So Corey, this is the slide that tells us what the top 10 coins were when you got started back in November 2016 trading crypto. Do you want to tell us what the situation was like then compared to today?
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of the emotions were the same. That's just the thing that's so funny about price and price volatility, the whole relative price concept, if you will. We thought that was really cheap back then, and now 5,000 is really cheap. And so this just goes to show, I think, really how far we've come. In just the last few years, and with the mass adoption and blockchain being adopted across a lot of traditional business these days, and more merchants accepting cryptocurrency. You start to change what the fundamentals of these coins are, and again, we've gone a long way. And so, even though it was a pretty long bear run, we still really had a much higher low than these previous prices.
Well, that bear run's important because it leads right into the next slide, and this one fascinates me because this screenshot is of the Wall Street Journal, and I've heard lots of people apply this to Bitcoin. It was invented for Bitcoin, was it? This is a market cycle. This is around way before Bitcoin.
Absolutely. Yeah, this works for any commodity asset that's being traded across different exchanges, and it's just because of all the emotions that goes into play when someone invests some money into something.
And I think what's important for people to understand with this is that don't think that we were talking about cryptocurrency right now, but in fact, I've seen this same graph that I like to shares in Amazon, shares in Microsoft, in Apple. You know, this is something that every big major technical breakthrough goes through this. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And these market cycles repeat themselves, and the next time they're much in the one prior, and so that whole phrase
and that's what makes this predictable for us, and that's why we can take that information and we can predict what's going to happen to a degree with Bitcoin. We can't predict it to the day, but we know what the overall cycle is going to be. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. Again, it's back in the day when I was taking my college courses that the past is not reflected. You know, with my now years of applying the knowledge and trading these coins and watching other financial markets, you know, I've come to disagree with that theory and that hypotenuse. You know, I think that you can learn a lot from price data and from, you know, what a coin has done in the past, and really be able to make really good educated, you know, guesses. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't really ever know, so it's a guess, but there's definitely education, there's analytics, there's a lot of knowledge being applied to a certain move or a certain entry or a certain take profit.
Okay. Now, in fact, the next slide that you have, we've got the Wall Street cheat street down in the bottom right corner, bottom left corner here, rather. Sorry, bottom right corner. But we're applying that to Bitcoin, and you can see how that wave repeats and how that relates.
Yeah, and I guess the main thing that I like to, you know, point out there is, you know, back in 2017, if you look at the very, very beginning of that chart, you'll see a market cycle down there. It looks so tiny compared to what we just had done, you know, over the last couple of years. And, you know, again, you know, I believe that the next move is going to make this move that we had at the 20,000 look like that one on the chart, and we won't even be able to see the market cycle from 2017 anymore. And so, you know, that's the kind of idea of the projection of price, you know, going to 50,000, maybe even, you know, higher than that, before retracing back down and again making a higher low, you know, maybe around 8,000 this time.
Yeah. Okay, and the same thing applies, we're talking about Bitcoin right now, but the same thing applies when we look at the Ethereum cycle. And again, the chart is very similar.
Yep, and so one thing, you know, again, that I want to point out is that bottom right image, which is the Elliott wave theory. And so, you know, that's the whole concept that this market cycle has waves to it. And not all waves are up. You know, so there are a couple waves that are going down, and, you know, we call those retracements or pullbacks. And you can see those 5 waves very, very clearly on Ethereum, you know, as it worked its way from, you know, a few $100 up to, you know, 1,400. How I come up with my take profits is you really want to be out of a coin when it's going back. And so, you know, the object is to get into a coin, find the floor, buy that here, and then take profit and really, you know, sell into strength and again, take profit while it's there.
Yeah, and you talk about that when you send the alerts out to us. And in fact, I've had some questions that touch on that, so I'm going to ask you about that a little bit later on, just so we answer specific questions. But we also want to look at the same trend happens when you compare Ethereum to the US dollar, and again, Ethereum to Bitcoin, because when we're actually comparing coin to coin rather than coin to dollar, that there are 2 different ways of looking at making money, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, thinking back to whenever I made 1.4, it was about 1.45, you know, $1.5 million on Ripple, about the US dollar value there, I'd only would have had $1.5 million. The bigger key to that story was the dollar.
Okay, we're having problems getting hold of you through part of this, Corey, so Guys, if you're having problems listening to this, just bear with us a little bit. And
kind of rain. Roger, do you want to kind of explain what I'm saying, right? Because you kind of know where I'm going with that, right?
yeah, effectively what Corey is saying to us is that if you look at this, he has the chart, and the chart explains the difference between Ethereum price and buying into Ethereum and then selling it because you were making a profit in US dollar, and you'll be making a chunk of money. But if you'd, instead of selling the currency into the US dollar, you'd sold it into Bitcoin, you would have made more Bitcoin, because the Ethereum to US dollar price is different from the Ethereum to Bitcoin price. So you would have made a larger amount of Bitcoin. And if you then held on to that larger amount of Bitcoin until the Bitcoin price is still greater still, you get to sell your Bitcoin for even more money. And it's a way of compounding your profits. And that's really what we're doing within Crypto One, is trying to accumulate more Bitcoin rather than focusing on accumulating dollars or pounds sterling as far as we're concerned, or euros, whatever currency you're looking in. We're really focusing on trying to accumulate more Bitcoin, because with the growth in the price of Bitcoin being so much more dramatically compared to any other traditional currency, that's where we're going to see a real growth in wealth. Does that sound right, Corey? Did I get that right?
Yeah, that is 100% right.
Good, excellent. Okay, and again, and we're going to show, there's a couple of slides here that the same thing applied when you bought into Digibyte. The same thing applies when you compare Digibyte to Bitcoin. And again, and everyone sees these same spikes happening that we saw and we talked about on the original Wall Street cheat streak. It's an emotional thing, because people are buying in waves. They're coming into something, and they come in at the bottom here thinking, price is low, I'm going to make some money, and maybe I'll make a bit, and then the price goes sky high and they think they're going to get rich, and everybody goes crazy, and then all of a sudden the bottom falls out of the market. Everybody starts to panic, people start to sell, and somewhere down here people drop out and they lose. We're not aiming at the Wall Street cheat street, but we're hoping, or in fact we're predicting, that we're down into dip here, getting ready next wave, and that's where we intend to profit on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where we can have the confidence to buy that floor, to buy that fear, to buy the coin that everyone thinks it's never going to turn around, that it's dead, because we understand market cycles and they don't, right? We understand that this is something that happens as a coin works its way up from a certain price point to another price point. It doesn't just go straight there. There's what's called volatility, and there's a lot of vocabulary that you guys might never heard before, but a lot of these are financial terms, and it's just all about knowledge. You know what I mean? When you have knowledge, you're able to find the trends, and that's what rich people do. They understand and they see trends, and they're ahead of waves, and they're doing things before the masses, and that's what we're doing by buying a coin before everyone else is.
That's it, and it comes from the analytical side of it, and that really leads into this next slide. And I love this next slide, because when you see this next slide and you look at this one, when you put it up and you start talking about the Fibonacci retracements, and I see people's eyes sort of glaze over, and they're trying to figure out, what's a 12th century Italian mathematician got to do with cryptocurrency in the 21st century? But the reality of it is, the principle that's guiding these markets has been known for hundreds and hundreds of years, and that's why we have that confidence. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty, I'm going to use the word crazy, how these percentages that Fibonacci came up with a long time ago show themselves and correlate time and time again across all these different coins and markets that are just a few years old. But I think it's also because traders use this, indicator. It's an indicator like other indicators, and they trade off of that. And so if you have a lot of people trading off the same thing, and you have people who, draw Fibonacci and start to put orders at a certain percentage retracement or pullback, well, you start to get a lot of support when a lot of people do the same thing. And so I think there's a little bit of coincidence there also. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a great measurement to be able to understand where we're at in the market. Further retracement needs to be done. up. It's I simply teach in crypto coach, and I go in real depths on how to use the indicator as well as how to understand it. Yeah, it's definitely a very powerful tool.
Well, I was going to just touch on that, and I was just going to say the important thing is that as far as Kuvera is concerned right now, with crypto, we really have two major products. We have Crypto One and we have Crypto Coach. Now, if you're just coming into crypto as a beginner day one on Crypto One, you don't need to know anything at all about this, because effectively we have you doing the analysis. You're going to do it all for us. You're just going to send us the signals. And for someone who hasn't got the faintest idea, it's not a problem. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's 100%
but for
correct.
people that want to go into Crypto Coach and people who want to learn this stuff, then you're going to teach them, and we'll touch on Crypto Coach in a minute and what that is for them. But you teach them in depth what that is, but it's a much more intensive learning process to go into Crypto Coach. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a 24/7 thing. I mean we got a chat that's got all the students in there, and there's always a question, going in when everyone can see the answer to that. And it's trading crypto is a daily thing because the markets are 24/7. This isn't one of those things like a forex where it sleeps on the weekend. There's constantly volatility, there's constantly price fluctuation, and you never know the day that's really going to be the day where it goes crazy. I mean, if you look back to history on Bitcoin from September 2017 to December 2017, it went from about 3-4 grand where it's at right now to $20,000, in just 3 months. And so if you weren't really watching it, at that time, you would have missed it, right? And so that's the kind of thing with this is really trying to be able to be a part of every move. And I think it's also really great. This whole Crypto Coach thing is kind of really turned into a community now, where we have a lot of students who are watching the coins are in, and so if someone's sleeping or someone's at dinner with their, wife or a significant other having, an anniversary, they don't have to have their eyes on the charts all the time, because one of the students always does. And hey, Corey, you see we're at our price. And so it's really grown into something way much more than me just teaching and educating and giving my experience and value and just helping people get through the volatility and those emotions that we talked from the Wall Street cheat sheet. It's really become a kind of quality of life of trading as well, to where you don't have to be staring at your portfolio and refreshing your app every 5 seconds.
Absolutely.
Which I did back in the day when I was first getting this thing. I mean, it's almost like you're afraid to not look at it because you don't know what's going to happen, right?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so on this next slide, you show buy versus sell orders on here, and I'm going to let you explain the buy versus sell orders and what the significance is for us as we're looking as Crypto One buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so remember, it's all about liquidity, right? That's really the best word to use for orders and price fluctuation, as well as this concept and understanding that a coin becomes a price when it's bought or sold at that price. And sometimes you got to say that a few times in your head for it to really make sense. But if someone purchases Bitcoin at $20,000, it becomes 20,000. If someone then sells it at 19,000, it's now back down to 19,000. You might be wondering, like, well, how does that happen? Well, it has to do with orders, okay, and these order books. And so, when Bitcoin got up to 20,000 back in January 2018. There could have been 0.01 Bitcoin bought at $20,000. So obviously that wasn't even a whole $20,000, right? That's 0.01 of 20,000 was the amount of money that was put into the order. But then Bitcoin still became that price. And another good example of thinking of that is like on Coinbase, right? If the Coinbase price is on $5,000 and you want to buy some, well, you're going to be pushing that price up because they're going to have to go to the higher order. And so same kind of thing with Digibyte, and this will make more sense now as I kind of talk about it with the real numbers, is I have about 4.8 million Digibyte on this exchange, Poloniex, or this screenshot right here. And so if you look at those first couple of orders of people who are wanting to buy, they're not wanting to buy all 4.8 million at one given price. So that means that I'm going to have to go into multiple orders for me to sell that Digibyte. And by the time I work my way to these bottom orders, well, now the price of Digibyte is way further down. And so That's why you see big green candlesticks and big red candlesticks on a chart. It's because, one person or multiple people sold through a whole bunch of orders and took the price down, from $5 to $4 all in one shoot by the time they got done liquidating their entire allocation of their coins. And so, this type of situation or analogy is really great to understand why Bitcoin dumped the way it did, because again, I'm not, some multi-billionaire in crypto, but there are those people in here with that much kind of Bitcoin. But you can kind of put me in the same kind of pool with some of these alternative coins that I'm in because of how heavy I go with my Bitcoin in them. And again, they're kind of like penny stocks. So, a lot of people don't like to go super heavy in penny stocks, right? Well, speculative, coins is where the more money is at. And so with that being said, I can really kind of fluctuate the price all by myself on a small coin like 𝗧𝗪𝗣. The same way there could have been one person who sold 20,000 of their Bitcoins up at 20 grand and dumped the price all the way down to 16,000 all by themselves. And so that's important to know, that Bitcoin going from 20,000 back down to 3,500 to 5,000 right now, it's not that Bitcoin was bad or that, the technology wasn't good. It's just that the price had not caught up to the fundamentals of the technology, if that makes sense.
Yep, it absolutely does. Okay, so you share a slide here that we've seen before, and it's your outline of a trading strategy. And this is really what's important for us as crypto owned buyers and crypto coach buyers. We need to know what we're actually buying into and what we can buy into. And this slide, we've shared this slide. You've been kind enough to share this slide with guys. And if any of you people need to see this slide a little bit bigger, then contact me afterwards and I'll happily share this with you. But on this slide, what you show is just how many coins people should be buying into, because the important thing that we should realize with cryptocurrency is there are a crazy, crazy number of coins out there, aren't there? I mean, I've heard numbers bandied that anywhere between 1,200 and 2,000 different coins. Is that right? We've lost his video. Okay, he's still here. So,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
my
hear you.
radio keeps playing and it keeps going out of my Zoom. It's like my phone's got a mind of its own.
Okay.
So I apologize. For everyone just to know, I've been moving the last like 5-6 days, and I'm about to go to the UK in a couple of days, and I am all over the place like a chicken with my head cut off. So again, I apologize for being in the car and doing this, but I just wanted to make sure you guys got the information and the content, because at the end of the day,
we've got you here. That's what counts, mate.
That's all that matters, right? So, again, about this allocation though, this is just really important because there is such thing as being too diversified in cryptocurrency. You don't want to be one of the people who has $1,000 and spreads it across 30 coins like you're throwing seeds, just in this big grass area, hoping that one's going to stick and plant, and so, or I guess another metaphor analogy is, throwing darts at a dartboard, hoping one sticks. I mean, you want to be in certain coins for certain reasons, and if you believe in a coin for a certain reason, well, then you want to strengthen that position, right? Instead of being in 10 different coins with a small amount of money, it's better to just be in 2 or 3 and be able to have a much stronger position in those 3. So whenever it does make the move, you're really able to capitalize on it. And so that's kind of what we're seeing right now from tier 1 to 10 is bottom's more aggressive, top is more conservative. What category you fall into as far as what kind of risk that you should be taking. And so, if you want to take a high risk and, you're young like me in a sense where you want to be taking more risk, I say if you have $500 US, you need to put that in all one coin. You need to be able to get that coin's the full move, the 40, 60%, whatever that's going to be, maybe even a couple 100% with some of the moves that I've been putting out. And in that way, when that coin breaks out, you're able to take that profit and swing it over to another coin that's at a different part of the market cycle than the one you're just in. And so as you start to make more money, then you're able to, kind of get in more coins and work your way from the left to 10th tier. And the bottom 2 rows is just really about, as you start to make more money, to start taking some of that Bitcoin out of the alternative coin market because when your Bitcoin is an altcoin, you technically have an opportunity of losing the Bitcoin the same way you have the opportunity to make more Bitcoin. So, if you start with one Bitcoin, now you've earned your way up to a couple hundred, and you believe that one day one full Bitcoin will equal 100 grand. Well, you already know you're sitting on a lot of US, Euro, British pound, right? And so maybe at that point you start to pull some of that Bitcoin out and start to hedge a little bit, and you're still trading, but you're only trading with maybe 40% of the Bitcoin, and that's what all those kind of figures mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just when it comes to just picking a few coins, what I want to try to reassure people with is that we're dealing with, as far as you're concerned, you're dealing with the cream of the crop. And the best analogy that I put on it is, in my previous career, I used to sell cars for a living. And when I sold used cars, I could sell anything at all on the market. But I made my most money selling Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, because I chose the high-end cars. And with this, we're talking about the high-end coins, and they're the ones that are likely to be the most profitable. Is that a reasonable analogy?
Yeah, that's a pretty basic analogy. The other thing too is, like, there's got to be liquidity. Again, that's the word that has to be used by everybody and really adopted. And that's, we have 20,000 plus members in Kuvera. To come into a coin and buy it and be able to take profit, you have to have a lot of daily. Oh my God, what is going on with this radio? So sorry about that.
I can still get you.
My phone's got it on its own. So what I was saying though is, liquidity side is, we have to be able to make it to where if 20,000 people, all make, a few grand on this trade, that there's enough volume there for people to be able to sell back out of that and recognize that profit. There's a lot of coins that go up, 1,000%, but the trade volume on that was $1,000. So that means that even if you would have had a coin that's now worth $1 million British pounds, you can only sell $1,000 of it, right? And now you're just sitting on a whole bunch of coin where there's no liquidity. And so, I really like to focus on, the top 50 coins when it comes to the big group of Crypto One. And again, that's kind of one of the positives, I guess I would say, or benefits of being a crypto coach, is that it is a smaller group. So I'm able to do some more speculative coins with that group, because it won't mess with the liquidity side of things by pushing the order to a group of less than 100 versus a group of 20,000. And so there are, a little bit of things that can be done with small groups versus big groups. But the last thing I want to kind of touch on is, again, people following crypto, big kind of drama with Bitcoin SV being delisted from Binance was a really big deal. It dumped 20-30% out of nowhere. And then there's question of, will it ever really get the price back, or is it going to lose its spot on all the exchanges to where no one can trade anymore? There's no liquidity. And so the objective is to stay away from those kind of coins, right? We don't really want to be in a coin that's being delisted or saying that we're no longer going to do this project. And so if you start to mess with coins that have, a couple $1 million in the market cap versus ones with a few $100 million or $1 billion, they can disappear, versus the ones that we're talking about, even if they go down, there's still $1 billion in the coin, right? And this and that. So, again, there's a real reason, real use case, and real education why we get in the coins we get in.
So it's a question of striking the balance between profitability and actually being able to sell it, and actually having a market to sell to. Okay. Perfect. All right. So we're going to look at a couple of the trades that you sent out in the past, and we're going to look at some of the things that went behind, some of the motives that went behind them. So this is a trade that you sent out. I'll let you take over. 22% gain on this particular coin, 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞 Now, 22% gain for you is quite a small trade, but there was a reason behind it.
Yeah.
Tell people what the reason was.
Yeah, and so, sometimes, coins that are higher up in the market cap, Ethereum Classic, ETC, is the fork of Ethereum, which is the number 2 coin in the market cap. And so there was a time where ETC was a top 10 coin. There's been a lot of new coins now that have higher market caps now. But so when you talk about a higher market cap coin, let's just, use $1 billion, for example. 20% of $1 billion is $200 million, right? That's to come into that coin to give it that type of pump, versus, a coin that only has $100 million in it, right? And then $200 million comes into it, and now you're talking couple 100%, right? And so it's harder to get the bigger gains on these type of coins, and so that's the idea of having some more speculative coins with higher 100% take profits. But that's the thing that's most important about this slide right here is if you've ever seen a crypto one alert from me, you'll see that where it comes to stop loss, it says none. And so, Forex, we use stop losses. I understand the reason for that. In cryptocurrency, the volatility is too crazy, and a 10, 15, 20% dump is kind of normal before maybe going up 50, 70%. And so if you have a stop loss, a lot of times you'll be stopped out back in Bitcoin only for your coin to go on and move. And so if you look at the notes on this one, I had put out to buy Ethereum Classic 3 days before it was listed on Coinbase. And so the news, the hype of it being listed on Coinbase is what pumped it to my first take profit. And when you get that type of impulsive move, it's going to retrace. It's going to have that Fibonacci retracement. And so again, it's about striking while the iron's high, and it's also about kind of selling the news, which kind of is one of those take-home points on the last slide, is that people get hyped up, the FOMO, that fear of missing out. Oh, it's being listed on Coinbase, I gotta buy it. But eventually that hype kind of calms down, and then it sells back down. And so when a coin gets impulsive like this and has really big green candlesticks, you really got to take profit because things will pull back.
And that's what we did. And then later on, we then got take profit 2 on it because things changed all over again. And you can see the wave difference again as it happened.
Yep, exactly. And that's just that first wave going to that take profit, the second wave going down, and the third wave going to that second take profit, which is that Elliott wave of the 5 waves. Yep. And so, we could have just stayed in from the entry and stayed all the way to take profit 2, right, and not close the trade and not been able to pull as much from the move, right? We're not taking advantage of all the volatility by doing that when we could have took profit, got out, re-entered at the bottom with more coin and more money going into the next take profit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing applies. This is another trade that you sent out for 10x pay, and again, people can see the pattern there.
Yeah. So the one thing I want to point out on 10x pay, this is kind of an example of a buy zone. I put out an entry, I put out 3 take profits, and then sometimes if you go to the next slide, you'll see that it kind of came down one more Fibonacci line, right? So it still followed Fibonacci, it just went down to one more of its retracement percentages. And so the best take notes, or I guess takeaway from this on this one, is the concept that it's okay to be down a 10-15% unrealized paper loss, right? You haven't lost it, you sold the coin before getting to that first take profit for 70%. And so if I ever put out an entry and you buy into it and it goes down a little bit, don't get scared or don't get nervous. It's just pulling back a little bit further, but the analysis is still the same. The analysis will still hold, and it's just a great time to buy some more. We call it averaging down. So now the average of your price of each coin is a little bit cheaper because you bought some that were cheaper than the other ones. And so you just got to look at it as like a discount Black Friday sale.
I just want to touch on one thing that I think it's really important for people to understand on that. And it goes to this stop loss question as well, because if people are trading Forex, we put a stop loss in, but the important thing when we put a stop loss in is that if that market price, if that price falls and we don't have a stop loss in, it's just going to take all of our money away, because we don't actually own the currency that we're buying with Forex. But with crypto, we're buying some currency. We're buying a digital asset, and we actually own that asset. And that's the difference, isn't it? The stop loss doesn't matter because you can't lose until you actually sell.
Yep. And I guess what I always say on that is that I feel like cryptocurrency is if traditional stock that you own, right, in the Forex market that you trade, if they were to marry and have a baby, you'd have cryptocurrency. It's like the best of both worlds. It really is.
Absolutely that. Absolutely that. Okay, so you mentioned Digibyte before, so let's talk about Digibyte, because you made a killing on Digibyte.
Yeah, so we across the take profits on Digibyte, there was definitely a couple 100% there against Bitcoin, and it's just a really good example of coin that finally, when it gets done, having that sell off and that panic and that FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. When all that goes away, the buyers start to come back in, the people start to chase it again, and it's just this constant ebb and flow. And trading is a zero-sum game. For someone to win, someone has to lose, right? Someone had to buy. I had to buy the coin from someone when it was low, and I sold it to someone else at a higher price, and they had to watch it maybe go back down, right? And so that's it's a sort of a weird thing to kind of say out loud, but the only way to justify in your mind is that we've all been there and we've all learned, right? Someone had to buy the Bitcoin at $19,500, right? And they had to hold it all the way down to $3,500 if they decided to, not sell and that kind of thing. Um, so again, once you understand that, and once you can understand that to be on the right side of the coin, as I always say, um, eventually you start to be the one who makes the money on the trades, and someone else takes the shoes of losing the money. But that's trading, and if you're going to be part of that game in that dog eat dog world, or if you will, you might as well be the one that's buying it low and selling it high, right?
Absolutely. And at the same time, we look at the next slide, because you actually stress on this. As much as you say you might as well be that one, we don't want to get too greedy with this.
Absolutely. And so I guess the best thing to say on that, Roger, is that these coins take the stairs up and the elevator back down.
Yeah.
The strength, if you will. 1 second. Y'all not hear that radio, at least?
We can't hear the radio. We hear you cut out, but we don't hear the radio coming.
I'm just glad that the radio is not coming and blaring in on you guys. So the point I'd like to make here, though, is that, if you would have sold that take profit at that first teal line, and it would have gone up another 10% more, and you chase that, you would have just bought it higher only for it to drop on you almost all the way back down to that buy zone. And so it's really important to trust the take profits, realize that, yeah, it might go up a little bit more, but you already pulled, 117% from the move. And again, let's not be greedy and freak out about it if it goes up another 5 or 10%, because we can always realize the gains on that sell, that one now into 2 Bitcoin, 100%, right? And then swing that 2 Bitcoin over to another trade that's in a much better position as far as entry, less risk, safer entry, if you will, just to not lose what we just gained.
But we've also got timing to consider as well, and that's why when you looked at this particular trade, the XMR trade, again, to you, very small profit margin, but it was the time to come out.
Yeah, and so this was one that again, it was only 20%, so I was trying to pull out a little bit more from it. It went over the take profit line. I waited to issue the alert, because the last thing I want is to tell you guys to get out of a coin too early, and even though I made y'all money, y'all are still mad that I couldn't make y'all more, right? So I take all these things into consideration. So I even held off on this one, but then again, it lost steam. It broke the trend line, which is never, necessarily a positive thing, and just told me that it was going to have more to come down. So I went ahead and closed the trade. And so, had I just trusted to take profit, it would have been, 20-something%, and we lost, 4 or 5%. Not a huge deal because of that feeling of greed. And so, whenever you're feeling greed in a trade, it really is a good kind of mental note that, hey, let's just go ahead and take profit and get out of this thing.
Okay, so we've talked about the different trades now, so let's touch on exchanges. Now, as far as Kuvera is concerned, just from the point of view of compliance, Kuvera cannot recommend any given exchanges. So when we have these 3 exchanges on here, these are your personal preferences of exchanges that you use, but it's not something that's recommended by Kuvera. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And so, just why I've chosen these exchanges, Bittrex and Poloniex are both USA based. Being USA, they have, different regulators and SEC, some more eyes on them than some other exchanges. Binance, it's a large exchange, but, after some, again, recent events, they're as crooked as they come. I'm saying that on a recording. I I've lost a lot of respect for Binance over the last week or two with the thing that the CEO did, and it just really has gone to show that these exchanges have a lot of power. So that's this is new. I've never said this on one of these PowerPoints, but it is really important that you know what money or which exchange you're moving your money to, because they hold the cards.
Absolutely. And it's an important thing for you to come out and say on here, because I've never heard you say that before. And it's something that we do want to make sure that we let people know about this, because this is your money and it's about keeping your money safe. So on the
if one of the exchange, I was gonna say, if the exchange goes away, the money's gone, right? That's kind of how it goes. And so you got to be really careful, because they hold the private keys until we get to the cold storage, as we're going to talk about next, right?
Yeah. And well, first of all, we're going to talk about Google authentication, because I know some people have problems trying to set up Google authentication. Personally, when I set it up, I didn't find it difficult, but it's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people out in China, China is really big with the crypto. Again, that's kind of, the start of it really going from over the hundreds to the thousands. They were the catalyst on that. And so they have really good hackers out in China. They have literally like just almost like corporate jobs where all they do is just hack these different exchanges, and they're just popping out a bunch of usernames and passwords. And if you don't have this Google authentication set up, then there's a good chance that they could get it right on your account and be in your account, and all your coins gone, right? So if you have this set up, then that means that they also have to have your cell phone with the app on there and no random kids. So this is to protect you from being hacked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you talked about cold storage as well a second ago, and I've seen this slide a number of times, but do you want to explain to people exactly what cold storage is, as opposed to leaving your coin on an exchange?
Yeah. Keep your... Can you hear me, Roger?
Yep, we can.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
That's better. We can hear you more clearly now.
Oh my gosh.
Now we can hear you, Corey. I'm guessing Corey can't hear me now. Okay, I'm going to talk. He's back again. Can you hear me now, Corey?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can.
Yeah, I am. Sorry, guys.
Can. That's okay.
So pretty much what I was saying is that when your money's on the exchange, technically the exchange has your coin in their cold storage. It's to protect your coin from being hacked. So coin is always kept in cold storage. It's just, is it the exchange cold storage or is it your own? So this thumbnail drive type of deal is a way for you to be able to move your coin off the exchange onto this type of device, where you now hold what's called the private keys, which is kind of like the fingerprint of each coin that you have, to where you actually officially own them, to where if Binance, Poloniex, Bittrex all go down tomorrow, you still have your coin. And so bottom right is a show called Billions, and it's a financial hedge fund show on Showtime or HBO, and he's literally like paying people $1 million bonuses in cold storage. So it's like a wallet. It's a digital wallet where you can keep your coin, and you can literally kind of carry it with you like you would any other kind of money wallet,
Okay. And again, we've also got an alternative to that. What's the alternative that you got?
Well, so this is just cold storage part 2. This is just showing what it looks like if you have it. So this is just a continuation of cold storage. So it looks just like any other exchange. You have a wallet address. You keep track of your coins. You connect it to your computer, and it's a very user-friendly device. So I encourage everyone. Huh?
But this isn't online. This is completely and utterly offline.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of the old school way of keeping your crypto before all the new stuff had came out. And so there's kind of a story about a guy who had millions of dollars of Bitcoin on a computer, right? It's kind of like holding that cold storage. He threw away his computer. He was searching the dumpster to try to find it for like weeks. Something, never found it, and he lost all of his coins. So that being said, if someone steals your cold storage or you lose this device, you do lose your coins. You have to be very safe, because it's it's almost like having like a bank vault at the bank, you know, being kept at your house, if you will.
And again, I mean, I've actually heard of people who've got a lot of coin in cold storage and they're keeping it in safety deposit boxes at banks to keep that secure.
Yeah, that sounds kind of to me, that the whole point of being in crypto is because you don't really believe in the banks.
Yeah,
right? So,
it is. But it's a way of storing it without having
money,
people hold your money. Okay, so we're going to go through this. I love this bit, and these are what you call your take-home tips, and I absolutely love these. So let's just quickly go through what these are. So when you've mentioned it a few times on the call tonight already, but you tell people, buy the fear, sell the greed. What do you mean by that?
It means be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. That's Warren Buffett. And so the idea is that whenever people are selling a coin, they're freaking out, that's your time to buy it, right? And when people are chasing it, well, you're already in it, right? So you're able to sell into that greed. And so as long as you're not chasing a coin and you're taking position when it's red, you know, whenever that tide turns and the buyers start to step in, you're always going to be in profit, pretty much.
And we really go back to that Wall Street cheat streak, don't we? Because it's that emotional roller coaster, and this is using that emotional roller coaster to your benefit.
100%.
Absolutely. Okay. So you also talk about selling the news, and you said when you were talking about Ethereum, when you were talking about Ethereum Classic being listed, sell the news. That relates back to that, exactly that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Sorry, I had someone try to call me. It goes back to the fact too, you know, when Bitcoin was being talked about all over the news, when it was, you know, 15, 16, 18,000, you know, it was never on the news from 600 on up, right? As soon as it was on the news and it was being talked about, that's when the sell-off started and that's when the dump happened. And the best example of that is, you know, the news was like, hey, you got to buy Bitcoin. It's the best thing since sliced bread. And you're not going to get rich listening to the news, right? That's kind of the best thing to say there. You have to be able to do it before the news is talking about it. And so, you know, right now, Bitcoin's not being talked about on the news, right? That's the time to buy Bitcoin. When Bitcoin's all over the news again, I'm going to start being a little bit fearful, you know, and maybe start, you know, wanting to get out of it. And so it's kind of a good indicator to go off in for sure.
Okay. Now, I loved this expression. Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. Sounds gruesome, but tell us what you mean by it.
Yeah, well, so the bulls are just the ones that buy, you know, the buyers, or the whales that buy. And so that's why they call it a bull market. And you have the bear market, you know, they're the ones that short the market. So remember, people are making money on the way up and the way down. It's just who called it right, you know? And then the pigs are just the ones that I'm talking about who chase it, who don't really know what they're doing, and they're constantly just losing money on every trade because they take a small loss here, they move over here, they chase that one, slowly bleed their account dry.
And it's really just a question of education, and that's what Crypto One and Crypto Coach is all about, isn't it?
Yeah, it's to help you guys not be in that position.
Absolutely. Sure. So FOMO, tell us about the FOMO.
Yeah, that's that fear of missing out. And so, you know, that's, you know, whenever you told your friend to buy Bitcoin at 5,000 and they didn't, and they finally bought it at 15,000, that's the FOMO. You know what I'm saying? They finally did it, but it was the fear of missing out. It wasn't a good, you know, buy, if you will. And so don't let that get to you. You need to be more prepared than that. And then the FUD is the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's the opposite side of that. And that's when everything's going down, like in a bear run, and everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin's dead, it's going to zero. Well, you and I both know better, and that's, you know, don't listen to those different negative emotions. Okay.
Now, we've already talked about never ever using the stop loss because it's just throwing money away. But this next bit was something that someone's asked a question about, and its relevance as well. You say on here, keep only what's on trade on the exchange and keep the rest of your coin in cold storage. Now, when does that become relevant? Because if you've got like $500 or $1,000 or even $5,000, you really want to be trading all of that. At what point do you get to
Right.
the point
So,
where,
I got a couple $1 million on each exchange, right? So it's not really about a US dollar monetary number. It's
yeah,
more about allocation and percentages. But yeah, I
okay,
mean, if I have $250,000 in a coin and I think that coin's going to hit its take profit within a couple weeks, right? It needs to be on the exchange to be ready to sell it back into Bitcoin. If I feel like this coin might take 6 months storage.
okay, so you're gonna take the coin off the exchange, put it into cold storage, and when you think it's heading back towards the price, then you're going to put it back on the exchange ready to sell.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Now, trust your targets and take the profits. We've already talked about that. We've also talked about making sure that we've got Google authentication, and we've definitely talked about being cautious of the exchanges that you move your coin to. So those were things that were really, really important. Time for us to talk about Crypto Coach. And give us a quick overview, and I mean a quick overview of what Crypto Coach, what you intend it to be.
Yeah. Well, I want the whole point of Crypto Coach is for you to learn to trade like Crypto Corey. You know what I mean? For you to understand why we're doing what we're doing with the Crypto One product, and for you to have direct communication and dialogue with the trader from Kuvera during every day, as these coins are going through these different moves. And so, there's waves within waves, as I say, in the market. And, sometimes when I put out an entry and take profit, right, there's going to be some trades in between there. And it's not that easy for me to push it out to 20,000, but it's pretty easy to tell my students to do this real quick. So it's about getting the inside trades as well as learning why we're doing them, to where you have the skill set to become a real trader one day, and maybe not have to leverage other people's efforts because you learn how to leverage money.
So with Crypto Corey, with Crypto Coach, when people get into Crypto Coach, first of all, you're going to do a live session every week where you're going to get together with a bunch of your students and you're going to discuss different coins and you're going to talk about the market and how they trade, yeah?
Absolutely. I'm doing it through TradingView. I'm going through all the candles that I trade off of, Fibonacci be one of them, helping you format your trading charts to look exactly like mine, to where you know what's happening step by step as you check your charts. And again, it's the real secret sauce, if you will.
Okay. But over and above that, anybody who buys into Crypto Coach is also going to get personal one-on-one access to you. And you say on here 15-minute appointment, but I know you don't do 15 minutes. You just sort of you do what's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of when I was coming up with this, as far as just, trying to keep up with numbers, and had hundreds of people coming a day, right? That's a lot of 15-minute increments. But yeah, I mean, it's about an hour call on that first onboarding call. I want to make sure that you have your coin bot, you're getting it to exchanges that you need to. It's the handheld process that is sometimes lacking, that sometimes people need before they can even take advantage of Crypto One. You know what I'm saying? So, Crypto Coach is almost like Crypto One for the more people who want a little bit more access and a little bit more hands-on. It's a little bit more expensive, but you're still able to get the alerts with a little bit more alerts. But it's also going to help you take advantage of every trade. When maybe you're on Crypto One, you're getting the alerts, but you're not really able to execute, right?
Yeah, but really what you're also teaching people to do is, in a way, you're kind of almost making yourself redundant, in as much as you're going to teach people to be able to read these charts without you and make their own decisions if you're not around.
Absolutely, because, believe it or not, Crypto Corey does have to sleep sometime. And one day Crypto Corey will want to have a family and kids, and really be able to be the dad and the good husband. And so, I'm only 28. I got, plenty in me left, but, hopefully after a few years of doing this and creating a lot of great traders that, I'll be able to push my legacy on through them and that space, leave my footprint there. And I'll be able to people ask me all the time, Corey, why are you doing this if you can just trade your money and you already have millions of dollars? I mean, that's a great question. Question is, and the answer is that I actually care about people. I actually enjoy this. I got into network marketing for a reason, and I just have a different product that I'm pushing. to get the same satisfaction of helping someone, make $1 million in crypto, the same way it helps someone get to the top of a comp plan, building a team, and so this is just my own kind of network marketing look and feel, and I really do enjoy it, and I like watching the light bulb go off and all that good stuff, but I can't do it for free, and I did it for free for a long time, and so eventually, this personal consulting came about, and sometimes people just want to ask me, can I look at a coin, or what should I do right here? And that's what this is all about, helping you have that person on your shoulder at all times to be able to give you, that extra insight that maybe you're just not seeing because sometimes you need another eyes on it kind of deal.
Okay. Now, let's touch on the basis of can't do this for free. So we're going to talk right now about the pricing strategy, because when you created Crypto Corey, my understanding of Crypto Corey, Crypto Coach was always intended to be a $10,500 program. But when it first came out, first of all, you gave people, for the people that came in the first entries, so that you were kind of buying testimonials. Really, what you were doing was teaching people $3.5 grand to get in the first instance. For I think that was maybe a month or 6 weeks, wasn't it, for people that came in right at the beginning?
Yep.
Price went up to $5,500. Now the price has gone up to $5,500, but that's coming to the end at the end of this month. So we have, what date are we on? We're on the 23rd. We've got 1 week left to get into Crypto Coach at $5,500, and then the price is going to $10,500, which was the original anticipation.
Yeah, and so guys, May 1st is a hard date on that 10,500 for those that are in part of my Crypto Coach program. There was no lenience on the 3,500, 5,500. I definitely wanted to get as much people in as possible on these cheaper prices. I wanted to have people that have more money to trade with. Save that $7 grand at the beginning, like Roger said, get that testimonial, but the testimonials have been really insane as far as the money people are making. I got students who've made $20,000 in a day on their account, because of the allocation they got. And so, the price point, again, has always been $10,500. It is a monthly type of deal. It's 12 months. It's just all up front because I don't want to keep up with subscriptions. So when you really break down the monthly, and then you break that month down in days and hours and the market views, it's really cheap, even at $10,500. And so I say that because it was initially $10,500, but this price will go to 15 and 20 grand. It's going to keep working its way up because of the type of money that students are making, and the fact that I'm trying to get the right price point on this. And again, the testimonies are there. That's all that matters.
Well, I was just going to say, as far as that's concerned, I think it's fair to touch on those testimonials as well. And I think it's fair to say that right at the beginning, you had guys coming in when you first launched Crypto Coach, and they were laying out their $5,500 to get in. They were making that money back in days.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you said to people.
We got one of the leaders, came in and started with 10 grand, and last time I looked at his account, it was $170,000. So, that's starting to be like my old story of taking a low 5-figure investment and turning it into $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So when you start to talk about those type of percentage gains and those types of numbers on 10 grand, 10 grand is pretty cheap, right?
Let's just touch that one just for 1 second. When did Crypto Coach start?
Technically, it started in January, but I had some students come in as early as November. November, because I was waiting on the company to get the back office stuff done. But I've actually been doing this personal consulting for a couple of years. I just finally kind of got the right to call it Crypto Coach and promote it to the distribution channel of Kuvera.
But realistically, started January. We're now in April. Someone's gone from 10 grand to 170 grand in 4 months.
Yep.
Yeah. Makes $5.5 grand or even 10 grand. It makes that look like a real cheap deal, doesn't it?
And again, it's not even just the gains; it's the knowledge, it's the skill set. Again, I'm teaching you everything I know, and I'm not leaving anything out because of that price point. There's a lot of people out here, they they hold stuff back because they don't want to give it all and they make it cheaper. I decided to just give it to you all, and this is what I value that because it's made me a self-made multimillionaire. And so I believe that this knowledge and skill set can do the exact same thing for anyone that takes advantage of the course and program, given what's about to happen with the crypto market as a whole. Absolutely.
So I'm going to come back in a second. You and I were talking maybe an hour or two back now, and you said about a special that I'm going to announce in a minute. So if you guys are listening to this call right now, whatever you do, do not go off before the end of this call. It is really, really important you stay on to the end of this call. So we're close to the end anyway. So let's just very quickly recap on Corey's bio so that you understand exactly who it is you're talking to, because you're talking to a guy who is 28 years old, self-made, multi-millionaire. He's made an absolute fortune in cryptocurrency, and he's making fortunes for other people, as you've already heard. Take snapshots of this screen, and if anybody wants something, they want to see this a little bit bigger, get in touch with me, and I'll make sure that we get that out for people. But really, we have a world leader right now who's helping us, and that helping us extends to asking personal questions. So I asked yesterday for someone to send questions through, and I got a few questions. And Corey, I'm going to keep these quite short because I'm conscious of people's time right now. First question I got sent out is, when you send a trade out with take profit 1, take profit 2, take profit 3, and we then get an alert saying take profit 1, do we then just wait for a new alert before we buy back in, or do we buy back in immediately?
Yeah, I've been putting out a re-entry. So I've been putting out the retracement down wave re-entry on that. So if there's no re-entry, it's because we decided not to get back in the coin for take profit 2.
Okay, so they just take the profit and stay out of it until they hear otherwise.
Yep.
That's cool. Okay, now, after, this is going to be an answer, isn't it? After taking profit of a trade on Binance, and I buy back to Bitcoin, do I then leave my coin on Binance or send it back to Coinbase until I get another alert? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, I leave it on Binance because Coinbase is not even cold storage. It's just another exchange. So having your money on Coinbase is not any safer than being on Binance. You might as well keep it on Binance to be able to be ready to make the trade and save yourself some transaction fees.
Absolutely. Okay. And last question that we're gonna ask. Someone said, I bought a hardware wallet. What do I do with it?
So you need to, plug it into your computer. You need to go through the steps that it has with the instructions. There's some recovery code passwords you got to write down. That's kind of crypto coach. If you're really serious about that kind of cold storage and this and that, and you need your handheld to do this, not handheld in a bad way, but that's you need to be part of crypto coach.
But realistically, you need a few $1,000s before that's financially worthwhile getting into that sort of stuff, yeah?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, for sure.
And that's a crypto coach question. Okay, that's cool. Corey, that's really all I'm going to go through right now. The last thing that I want to tell everybody is that, guys, if you've watched this and you've enjoyed what you've seen tonight and you found it interesting, then Corey is going to be with us this coming Sunday, the 28th of April.
Can you hear me, Roger?
Yeah, we can. So Corey's coming to the UK. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I was interrupting. I was just gonna say that, for the people who are gonna be at this event, there will be something special on the discount or price and maybe something else. So if you have not already booked your ticket for this event, you want to be there. I'm coming all the way from Dallas. I'm catching 2 flights each way to get there. So if I can do that, you guys can be there as well. And I'm really excited to see you all very, very soon.
Brilliant, Corey. He stole my thunder now because I was going to give that a real big sell there, but.
Oh, sorry, man. I thought you already said it, and I thought I missed it, so I was just coming to follow up after you.
It's okay. Guys, you just heard directly from Corey, though. If you come to the event on Sunday, Corey has hinted a discount and something special. Still don't know exactly what it's going to be, but what we do know is this. What Corey's gonna give us as a special offer will only be for people who are live at the event this coming Sunday. Now, tickets are still available, and they're available at Simon. I'm going to unmute you for a second. Just tell me the URL.
The URL is 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗏.
𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗏. The 𝗧𝗏 bit was what I needed. 𝗧𝗏.eventbrite.com.
.co.uk.
.co.uk. Okay, so tickets are available at just £20, which is a 20% discount. They're available for the next 3 days at £20. Okay, after that, if you turn up on the day, £25 on the day. But guys, you have to get there. You're going to see, when you come to that event, you're going to see Corey, a self-made multimillionaire talking to us about crypto. You have John Martinez there talking to us about the business. We're going to have Simon Brooks, again, self-made multimillionaire in network marketing. It's going to give us the benefit of his knowledge too. You're going to hear some of the guys that are making chunks of money out of Forex with just weeks of experience. There are a million good reasons why you should be there. Simon's also negotiated a fantastic rate on. Are they getting rooms left?
Yeah.
I've got rooms left. Okay. The room rate, if you want to come and stay across on the Saturday night, the room rate was £130 for a room. Simon's negotiated that down to less than half that price, down to just £60. Fabulous hotel. You can see the picture of it there. They've got leisure facilities, everything else. And as you heard at the beginning of the call, a bunch of us are going to be going out for a meal the night before, then back to Simon's. We're going to have a cocktail party in Simon's room, and it's going to be a fun time for everybody, but an incredible learning experience too. So guys, there is every good reason why you should be at that event this week. And if you're coming to the event and you're driving across on the Sunday and you've got any friends that you think might be interested in what you've seen, bring them with us. You've got to make sure that you bring people to this event and let people see this bigger picture, because it's not an opportunity that you get every week. So make sure that you capitalize on it. Guys, that's it from me now, right now. Simon, is there anything you want to add before I wrap up?
No, it's all good. We just need to really rock it. Do not forget, tomorrow we got our Zoom presentation.
Absolutely.
Invite.
So bring as many people as you can tomorrow night. I'm going to put the Zoom link out straight after this call, and we'll have the Zoom link so you can tell as many people as possible to listen into tomorrow night's call. Bring as many prospects as you can, and bring as many prospects as you can to Sunday. I'll see you again same time tomorrow night, guys, with the regular Zoom. So until then, see you again. Bye.
Get you later. Bye-bye.